initially everything got going a mile away in downtown Greensboro at a restaurant brewery. And out of the second year, they started selling a few kegs to the ballpark downtown in Greensboro, who had just opened. In 2007, we opened up this facility and got all these pieces in place and started brewing. And the first year we did about 1,000 barrels, and we did 2.5, 5,000. Last year we did 9,000. Now we're over 13,000 barrels.
We really want to tie ourselves into our local community, so that's why we picked the name Natty Greenes. Nathaniel Greene was a little too stuffy for us, Nathaniel Greene Brewing Company, so we thought Natty Greene Brewing Company would be much better. It's a little more fun. He was an American hero.
So everything starts with milling in your grain. So you have a recipe, and it calls for a certain quantity of different malts, and so the brewer comes here, sets it up, it gets weighed out. Once they hit water and we mash in, all this comes to life, and we take advantage of that activity. And that activity happens right in this vessel here, which is our mash kettle. The grain comes in, drops in. There's water in here at about 140, 150 degrees. And there's an agitator, and it starts moving everything around. And for a good hour, we basically mix the grain and the water. The husks and the materials that don't go into solution stay on top of it, but the sugar water essentially gets strained out and then goes over into the brew kettle. You cook it the whole time. You add hops. First, your bitter hops, and then later in the process, aromas. After about 6 hours or so, the beer is ready, it gets cooled off, we'll pump it into the cellar. So here you can smell it a little bit. It's got some nice, it's a mixture of CO2 and the fermentation flavors. And these tanks are all jacketed and cooled, because once the sugar water comes over and you mix it with the yeast, fermentation kicks in and it generates a lot of heat and CO2 at the same time, but mostly heat. And you, as a brewer, you need to control for that. Because if it gets too hot, you get, not only does it happen very rapidly, but you get a lot of off flavors. You can see this on the sheet a little bit. We have a whole set of things we do, but initially it's really just the sugar content and then the pH level. Initially it's 3 days of a very vigorous fermentation. 80% of the sugars disappear at that point, and then it's 2 or 3 days of secondary slowing down, and then it's conditioning or maturing for about 10 days or so. There's 2 typical ways of how beer leaves the brewery, which is one is a keg, and that's that machine here. So that's our bottling line. We run it twice a week, so all these bottles that show up in various locations are filled and capped about 120 a minute, and then they come around and they get labeled here on that little unit. Get labeled and then make it out. It's the cooling space where it's already getting cold here, where the beer then waits at about 40 degrees to be loaded. It looks like it's pretty full, but in a normal week we sort of turn this once. Oh, I was living in Germany beforehand, so I was brewing there. I started in '97 at a small brewery outside of Munich. I met someone, got married. Yeah.
Now you're in Greensboro.
Now I'm all the way somewhere else. Yeah. But I mean, it's worked out. In Germany, there's nothing like this happening. There's no small brewers and no craft beer revolution in many ways. It's a very different.